I've warned you numerous times there's a massive case that will go before the Supreme Court on October 15th that could very well wipe out half of the Congressional Black Caucus. Folks, this is the most serious attack on the Voting Rights Act since that Shelby v. Holder case was settled more than a decade ago. Fair Fight Action and Black Voters Matter Fund, they released a new report explaining what's at stake in the Louisiana versus Callis case. Again, the Supreme Court are going to be rehearing arguments next week as center on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, the central safeguard against racially discriminatory redistricting. Now, I want y'all to keep in mind what we're talking about here. The Supreme Court has already ruled in this particular congressional seat that black voters were frankly screwed out of representation. They declared that the Louisiana maps were unconstitutional. They ruled against Louisiana. They had to create a second district. The folks in Louisiana elected Cleo Fields. Louisiana then said, oh, we want a second bite. In fact, they had multiple bites at the apple. It went to the Supreme Court, it went back, the Fifth Circuit, is all these games they played, they kept losing everywhere. Then they said, let's attack this a different way. Now that Trump is in the White House, now you have these far-right legal theories about, how about we say no use of race in any redistricting? That could be the death knell. LaTosha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, joins us right now. And LaTosha, we tried to tell people, we always say hashtag, we tried to tell you during the election what's at stake. When all these Simple Simons out here were saying, oh, we survived him the first time, oh, tangibles, oh, it's not that bad. We kept saying, no, you don't understand what's going on. We have now seen how Chief Justice John Roberts, how they have been ruling, and Kavanaugh, and Alito, and Amy Coney Barrett, and we know, of course, Clarence Thomas, who despises black people. And so this case right here, the fact that they are rehearing this case a year after they've already settled the case should be scary to all of us who care about voting rights and civil rights.
You know, I think this is going to be the most significant possible, is the most significant voting rights case that we've seen since 2012, when there was a gutting of Section 5. The two things in the Voting Rights Act that actually made it powerful was Section 5, which was stripped earlier, that basically was a pre-clearance clause, that before you draw a district, you had to have a district, you had to get pre-clearance to do that. But the second piece that I think a lot of people, in terms of Section 2, what it does, it gives the right to draw, to gerrymander districts in such a way that black voters have some input, some real influence over the outcome of it, so that we can get representation. And Louisiana, I don't know if people know this, but 1/3 of the population of Louisiana are black people. That's 1/3 of the state, right? Yet we only had one for years. We only had one congressional district, right? As you said earlier, Roland, you know, it was because of the courts came back. It was so egregious that they told the state of Louisiana, look, y'all, we can't do this. You got to fix it. And as a result, they created the second district. Now there's a small group of folks that are coming back saying that for us to have fair representation, that in some way that's discriminating against white voters. We got to see what the line is. It's ironic that we're in this moment that the same court that says that it's okay to use race to racial profile, that ICE can use it to racial profile, but now we're looking at this case that really essentially will undermine black, brown representation, particularly throughout the South, but around the nation. So I think people need to understand, like, look at this case. The fact that the Supreme Court is taking it up. You just made a ruling a year ago saying that it was egregious what happened. You made a ruling in Alabama, in the Alabama case, saying that in Alabama, more representation as black people make up 25% of the state. So, but here we are in a heightened environment where we're seeing we're seeing racism be weaponized in all forms of the court system right now, and in society right now in this nation. And so this is a critical, I need black folk, I need all people who really care about democracy to wake up and see really what's at stake here.
This case is not just about Louisiana, LaTosha. Again, the net effect of this case could very well, on the low side, wipe out 20 CBC seats. It will impact also Latinos as well. It could mean half of the Congressional Black Caucus. There are 61 members of the CBC right now. The 18th congressional seat in Houston has not been filled with the death of Congressman Sylvester Turner. We're talking about potentially 20 to 30 black members, those seats wiped out if the Supreme Court agrees with the folks challenging the Louisiana case.
It could be devastating for some. I apologize. I don't know if the connection is bad on my end or not.
It's going in and out, but go ahead. We hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It went in and out, but we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think I know what you said, but I'll just say that, people need to understand what is at stake here. This isn't about, we don't need to get caught up whether you like this party or this. Right now, what's at stake is power. That this is really a power grab. This is a grab that says that the majority of black voters now actually live in the South. And so if this case, if the Supreme Court rules against and rules against us and rules that to take out Section 2, what essentially that will do, as you just stated, Roland, it will strip black and brown seats throughout the South, which actually will limit representation. But that just doesn't have implications in the South. That has implications on who will actually have power in the entire nation. So everybody should be paying attention to what is happening. This is a power grab. We have to raise our voices so that we can actually put the Supreme Court notice that we are paying attention to you. We're paying attention to this ruling, and we will not go quietly in the night. The South has something to say, and we will not be silenced. So there are a couple of things that people can do. One, we want to have people to sign a petition. We are circulating. We are standing to support of the Voting Rights Act. Leave the Voting Rights Act alone and make sure that our representation, that it's protected. And so they can sign the petition. You can find the petition on our website, Black Voters Matter Fund. Well, the second thing is they can also join us next Wednesday, October 15th at 10 a.m. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund is holding a rally on the Supreme Court. We need to show up in mass and in solidarity to say that we are watching, we are paying attention, and our voices should not be silent. So if you're interested in that, we're actually taking some buses up from the South. You can go to our website again, blackvotersmatterfund.org, and get information about that. And the thing is, I need people to understand that we have to fund our fight. That somebody has to pay for this. We've got to fund. And I ask you to donate to frontline groups. If you can't attend, at least support those groups that are fighting for us day in and day out. You can fund groups like Transformative Justice Coalition, support groups like the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, support Fair Black Voters Matter, even the Roland Martin Show, that we've got to really start using our money in such a way that we're supporting those that are on the front lines, that will bring us the truth, and that will help us really push back what we're seeing happen in this nation right now.
Again, you broke up there. So the rally that's going to be taking place, when is that?
The rally is on Wednesday, October 15th. At 10 a.m. in front of the Supreme Court, on the steps of the Supreme Court. Join us October the 15th. The Legal Defense Fund is hosting a rally at the Supreme Court on the steps. You can also join us. We're taking some buses up. So you can go to our website and find out more information about how you can join and be a part of our delegation, or just come and join us and stand up for voting rights.
I was speaking to the Louisiana State Conference, the NAACP, on Saturday in Baton Rouge, and they actually are plaintiffs in this callous lawsuit. And they're going to have folks who are from Louisiana coming up for the oral arguments, because those oral arguments are happening on that same day at the Supreme Court. So that's why folks are rallying outside of the Supreme Court.
And I want to go back to the third thing that I asked, that I talked about funding our freedom, funding our fight. Mm-hmm. People got to wake up. Do you know there's a thing called the Marble Freedom Trust. They are putting $1.6 billion behind this. They're funding conservative legal fights such as this. They're fights that they come up in the lab and it was like, listen, what are some ways that we can undermine, grab power, and marginalize voices? This is a part of that. And so the other side is fully funding fights like this Marble Freedom Trust. $1.6 billion. I'm asking people $5, $10, $50, whatever denomination that you can afford and that you can give and put your spirit behind that we're saying we've got to stand together as a community and recognize that there are fights on all kinds of levels. We know that there's all kind of issue fights going on. But what we do know is that when there's a fight, you need to make sure that your front lines are taken care of. We need to make sure that we're able to fight to make sure that we always have representation, particularly in the South.
We've covered this on this show, Tasha and LaTosha, trying to get people to understand. You're talking about this Marble Trust. What you had this rich Republican who gave, and frankly, he hasn't passed away. He's still here. He gave Leonard Leo this money, the $1.6 billion to create this. And Leonard Leo, this is Leonard Leo right here. This is the man who ran the Federalist Society, who put the Supreme Court, these conservative Supreme Court justices on the court. And what they are trying to do with this money right here, you see here, this is in 2023 alone. This is the New York Times, a deep-pocketed nonprofit organization founded by the conservative activist Leonard Leo, gave away $182.7 million in a year's time. They were formed in 2020. The gift was $1.6 billion. It came from one person. That single donor's contribution of 100% of a company's shares before the company was sold. And so he gave Leonard Leo this money to spend any way he wants to. And what progressives have to understand in this battle, LaTosha, is that these people are clear, and this is what I laid out earlier. And when I'm talking about in January, I said point blank, what these people want to do is they want to completely defund Black America. Robert Mercer, who funded Breitbart, and Breitbart, when they were attacking Black people left and right, Robert Mercer is quoted as saying, that the decline of America, and I'm going to find the quote, he was saying that the decline of America began with the Civil Rights Act. That was a particular, he called it a major mistake, okay? Now, keep in mind, this is the same language, and people understand, this is the same language that Charlie Kirk was using. This is the same language that the right is using. So now, I need people who listen, watch it, understand, connect the dots. Why do they despise the Civil Rights Act? Because it's not just public accommodations for Black people. It's the fact that these white folks could not discriminate in so many areas, even privately. Then you go to the Voting Rights Act. They despise that. Then you go to the Fair Housing Act. So people need to understand what their target goal is. Their target goal first is to destroy and eradicate the Voting Rights Act, because what that does is that completely decapitates Black political power. Because I said, LaTosha, that it could wipe up half of the CBC. But here's what people have to understand. The same Voting Rights Act is used for state rep seats.
That's right.
County commissioner seats, city council seats, school board seats. So you could see a complete political obliteration of Black politics across the country if the Supreme Court rules in Louisiana's favor in this case. That's how dangerous. So that's the political piece. And so their goal is to do that. Then their goal is to go after the economic piece. They already took out affirmative action in universities. And so their strategy, every single thing that black people died for in 13 years of the black freedom movement, they want to wipe out. And then they're also using the very civil rights laws born out of Reconstruction, the same Civil Rights Act of 1866, using that against us. So people need to stop. You know, I've been yelling and screaming. I'm like, y'all, we're out here bullshitting, and I love dancing, and I love having a good time and boots on the ground. I'm like, yo, but these folks, they're playing for keeps because they want to solidify white power for the next 100 years because they know the demographics are changing.
Oh, absolutely. Part of the problem, Roland, you know, that's why I hate hearing folks say, well, you know, why are we voting because it don't count? Stop it, y'all. Like, stop it. That whole excuse is just tired. I'm like not even listening to that anymore because it's tired and it's untrue because we're in the space that we're in right now because people don't know what power and what power levers we have. Do I believe that voting is the only power? Absolutely not. But is it a form of power? You better believe it is, which is part of they're coming for three things, as you just stated. They're coming for our power, our political power, they're coming for our money, right? And they're coming for our humanity. What happened in Chicago, you got folks they're dropping down in Black Hawks, going and snatching folks out of their apartments. Don't think that you are safe, that can't happen to you. And we've got to always make sure that our front lines are covered. It is important who is in office that represents us. Why? Not only for them to fight back against that, but how do you think allocations are made? When money is being made at the table, I need to make sure that there's somebody at that table that is accountable to me or feels some sense of accountability to me to make sure that we're not completely left out. The writing is on the wall. We are seeing what is happening. We are seeing this consolidation of power, this attempt to consolidate power. And what can stop it? We can. People can. When people rise up, you can make a difference. That's why this isn't the moment, like you said. Like you said, Roland, I like to put boots on the ground, but we need some real boots on the ground. We need some folks on front lines recognizing how critical this moment is and understand that this is a transformative moment. This just can't be about transactions. We cannot let people come for us and we are not responding. We cannot let people come for us in our power and we're not organizing. You know, there's a Bible verse I was really thinking about. Everything around us is coming and giving this message of fear. Like everything around us wants us to be afraid and want us to be fearful and want us to feel powerless, right? And ultimately they're coming at us and want us to feel all of those things. And so I went to the scriptures because I'm a person from the Christian faith tradition. I went to the scriptures and there was a scripture that just stuck out to me. And it said, perfect love drives out all fear. We've got to actually center ourselves in perfect love. What does that mean? That means that we've got to center in love for our community, love for our families, love for ourselves, love for democracy, love for freedom. This ain't the moment just to have an opinion or just to say, oh, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. No, they don't do what they want to do anyway. They will do what you allow them to do. If you are not fighting, you are the problem. So all those folks, and I love to hear my niece would say it all the time. Ooh, I wouldn't have been able to do this in the civil rights movement. Whatever you're doing right now is what you would have been doing in the civil rights movement. Is what you would have been doing in slavery. What you would have been doing when our people were fighting for our lives. Ultimately, right now, this is not a game. This is not a drill. That ultimately there is a strategy to really unravel all of the gains that we've made, to have Black folks in a perpetual subservient position, for us not to have political power, for us not to have economic power, and for us not to have the right to be self-determined. We have to resist that with everything in us. This is the moment. This is the time.
Questions from the panel. Let me first go to Cameron.
Great to see you. One thing that I think that you just mentioned, that voting is the power, and people have to realize that their vote does matter, but kind of being in the streets, trying to get young people, trying to get Black people, trying to get people from the hoods to the neighborhoods in the suburbs to be able to let them know that their vote still does have power. But if this Section 2 of the voting rights is gutted, the power that one of the power levers that they still had, even if they weren't exercising, will be stripped away. How do we make the case to people who haven't been voting? Because there's so many people who stayed at home and on the couch. who, if they come to
You
the
know,
ballots and they come to the polls this year and they come to the polls next year, it's one of our last chances to really fight back. How do we really encourage them to get out and vote and not shame them, but encourage them?
one, thank you for that question. One, I think it's real quick, simple. We got to stop lying and tell the truth. And what do I mean by stop lying? I think over what we have done is that we have, over the years, to get people to vote, we do a couple of things. One, we got to scare you to death, right, and hope that you get mad and angry and understand how important it is. Or we tell you it's the end all, it's the be all, it's going to solve your problems. Many people have done that. And folks know that that's not true. The truth is that voting in itself is not all that we need. We can actually honestly say that. So when people are saying that they have some concern about that, there's some validity to that. We understand, many of us. I know that I've voted for people before and not got all the things that I wanted, or the things that, even some of the things that they promised me. I understand that, right? And so I think we have to validate when people are saying that. Instead of shaming them, we have to own that and own that this system is deeply flawed, right? But the truth part of it is that does it matter? Absolutely. There's not a single person that can say that it doesn't matter, or they've not done real work. Because if you've gone in a courtroom, have a certain judge, y'all know there's some judges that you don't want to go to before. There's some judges that you do. There are some DAs that can make the difference between the same exact charge, whether our people will get some parity, or if something as simple as having some cannabis will get thrown the book at, right? That it does make a difference. And we're sophisticated enough to know that it makes a difference. We got to stop, right, with not being truthful with each other, of saying that, yes, we understand the limitations and you are right. But the truth of the matter is, when a people are at war or being attacked, you have to use every tool available to you to protect your community. And that's what I think we have to be. We have to really root our answer in when we're talking to folks, and engage them in what they care about, and make that connection to what is it that you care about, and help them to actually be able to see.
Right.
Because oftentimes we're not making the connection points for them.
Well, also, we got to let them know you don't see nobody white telling white folks not to vote. It's only Simple Simon Negroes who yell and screaming on social media like, yeah, don't vote. That vote ain't going to do nothing. Yeah, that's you, Umar Johnson, and the rest of y'all. But ain't it funny, the people who say voting don't matter, but when they're trying to get a school built, they got to go through the state government and the city government. That's all government. See, that's the other thing that I keep trying to tell folk, LaTosha. The people who act like they are living a life where government has no role in their life is an absolute lie. There is nobody on this earth where government does not play a role in your life. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's city, county, state, federal, school. It does not matter. Government plays a role in the life of everybody, and you better be a participant in that government, or it will definitely deal with your ass accordingly.
No, it's like my take care of your business, or your business will take care of you. The bottom line is, it's not just in life, it's also in death. There's not a single aspect of our lives that is not impacted by public policy. Even if you have a family member or a loved one to die, in order to collect the life insurance, you got to get the death certificate. Someone actually governed that. Where you live is governed.
Yeah. The death certificate is a government. The death certificate is a government document.
Is a government document. There's no aspect of your life, not a single aspect of your life, that is not impacted in some way by public policy, from where you live to how it's zoned, to how much money you make at work, to how much you can take out, they can take out of your check. So we got to really be honest that at the end of the day, yes, we may not be able to get everything that you want in this particular way. I understand that, those limitations. But the truth of the matter is, there are decisions being made about you, whether you agree with the process or not. And the process to actually that you have influence is electing folks. That's just the truth. Those are facts.
Nola.
Hey, LaTosha, it's always great to see you. And you literally always bring all the passion and all the facts, and I'm just always in awe of you. But here's my question. With everything that we're seeing happening around the country, with special elections, special mayoral elections, congressional elections, where Democrats are performing really well, even to the degree where a Trump pollster is worried about this shutdown, especially the messaging around healthcare, saying that it could potentially cost Republicans 10 to 15 points in 2026 if they're not on the right side of this. So here's my question. Are you seeing a shift on the ground the way that we're seeing a shift in these other areas, with messaging that seems to be going a little bit more in a positive direction? We're seeing it in the results in these special elections, but on the ground in Louisiana, where I'm from, what are you seeing? Is any of this landing there the way that it is in other places for people to really get out and to get involved and to understand what's at stake?
So let me say this. One, thank you. Great seeing you, Nola. Let me say this. I think that there's no way that you are a living, breathing human being with any sense of intelligence and not know what time it is. One of the things, Black folks are real perceptive. Don't nobody have to spell out racism to you. You see it, you smell it, you feel it, you know how it feels, you know what it looked like. So at the end of the day, in all honesty, look at what's happening right now. We're seeing it. We're seeing what happens when there's this concentration, this attempt to consolidate power. And it's not in the same frame. It may not be in the same frame as political parties. I heard my brother Carr, and I understand exactly where he is. The bottom line is we're so beyond that. This isn't about a party fight. This is really about a power fight. And I'm going to tell you, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I am going to align myself with whoever is going to protect me from those that seek to hurt me, harm me, and kill me. And so that's a strategic decision. That's a strategic decision that Black folks have always had to make and will continue to have to make as we're building what we need to build to be self-determined. And so I think it's really important in this moment that as I've been talking to folks, I've not talked to anybody that does not know what time it is. Matter of fact, what's interesting is as I've been walking in grocery stores, I get stopped on the streets and people will say, what is I need to do? What do I need to do in this moment? And so I think I think that there is a sense of urgency in community, not at the level that I think we need to see it, because I don't want people to move out of fear, but I do want people to move in a way to recognize that our best chance of beating this back has always been we've leveraged our collective power. We've got to use our economic power in a very different way. We can't fund folks who are actually working against us. You shouldn't be getting nothing from Target right now. And a whole list of other people, and you'll hear more about that. Mm-hmm. But the second thing is when people are trying to take our political power, you can't just poo-poo that. We've got to really be able to organize ourselves and lift that up and spread the word. Some people, what I found is a lot of people don't know what is happening with this case right now, which is part of the reason I'm so glad that Roland let us talk about this on the show, that they don't realize that this case, because there's so many things that are happening, because the chaos is the point. That Trump and the administration are intentionally creating so much chaos and confusion right now that they believe that some things will get lost in the cracks. You got to pay attention, Black folks. You have to pay attention what is happening on us on every level. And if you individually can't pay attention to it, what you need to do is support the kind of organizations that are and the people that are on the front lines.
Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland. And it's always good to see you, Sister LaTosha. And one of the many things I really deeply value and appreciate about you is your ability to think and be and act in a creative fashion, which is in the best tradition and spirit of our ancestors. So my question builds on or extends and just kind of continues in the vein of the one that we just heard from Nola. And it is really two parts. One, you've kind of already answered, and that is how we not only organize but deploy to maximize our voting strength. We see our brother Gary Chambers in Louisiana giving us updates in terms of the early voting daily on what's going on in New Orleans. What's your sense, particularly in Texas, places like Texas, but maybe even ultimately Louisiana, in terms of how this gerrymander might backfire, even if they get everything they hope for, if we can maximize the voting strength that we have in the hyper gerrymandered districts, and perhaps even keep some of those districts with representatives that are more favorable to our concerns. And then the other part has to do with creative thinking around the lawsuit. It won't be with this case, but I'm thinking about the voting rights case out of Tuskegee many years ago, Gamillion versus Lightfoot, the landmark case around gerrymandering, because these races were so obvious that they had to say it was unconstitutional, but they didn't use, because there wasn't a Voting Rights Act then, they used the 15th Amendment. And I think it's been an
That's right.
underused amendment in the legal arguments we've made. And so the second part of my question, in addition to thinking about how we can maximize our voting strength, even in hyper gerrymandered districts, do you think our legal strategy should be more creative so that even if we lose the Voting Rights Act, we begin to build out some jurisprudence along the line of really reviving 15th Amendment legal arguments? And even when it relates to the Voting Rights Act, thinking about, of course, Section 2 being revised in 1982 to say you don't have to prove intent. It's not necessary now. Maybe even try to flip the script in some ways and make the legal argument that in doing this, this isn't colorblindness. What they are in fact doing is trying to create a legal status for whiteness, which is a
That's
form
right.
of
That's
discrimination
right.
on its own, a theory that we really haven't been arguing in.
But LaTosha,
That's
before you answer that, go to my iPad, Anthony. This is the 15th Amendment that Greg mentioned. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Section 2, the Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. LaTosha, go ahead.
So, Dr. Carr, let me say this. I actually think that is brilliant what you raised. I'm not a legal scholar, so I can't tell you what would be the best way, but I'm certainly leaning towards what you proposed. However, let me just be honest. We are in the wild, wild west right now. And I'm saying that because much of what is happening right now ain't legal no damn way.
Exactly.
Right here, you got the court, the same court that is saying that you can use racial profiling to pick people up off the street indiscriminately, right? But you can't use race as a criteria for elections. So we already see that there's something wrong. To the extent that I do think that we should use other creative ways, it really is to show the hypocrisy of the courts and the hypocrisy of what is happening in this nation so people can see. Part of the reason why I think we need to vote, I want to step back for a minute. Part of the reason I do think that, going to your first part of the reason why people need to vote in this election and particularly in the election next year, which may be one of the final and one of the most critical and important elections, is because I actually work with a professor at Harvard that is doing a lot of work around and has done her whole body of work around authoritarianism and how do dictators come into power, right? And what stops them. There are two ways that you actually help stop the consolidation of power. It has been one, through voting, and as you vote, if people feel, even if the other side takes the election, if people just feel that their election was stolen and their voice got cut off, it becomes a tipping point for the organized and where people have toppled governments because of that, right? Or even there have been a major change of government. The second thing has been some kind of what they call a black swan event, some event that has happened that has been unexpected. Someone got killed, someone like that was the tipping point, like from George Floyd murder that led to the uprising, something that causes folks to actually become so emotionally engaged that they uprise. The bottom line is there is nothing that can stop authoritarianism and the consolidation of power except people.
Yes.
There's nothing. I'm just being honest.
Right. That's right.
And so we got to actually use these other vehicles in every single way because you got to have your people on the front lines.
Thank you.
Greg asked you the question about Texas and how they could have overplayed their hands. But here's the point that we have to understand, and we've been hammering this on this show, and LaTosha, you know it, Cliff know it as well. When we vote our capacity, they are banking on us staying at home. Donald Trump reveled after he thanked black people publicly for not voting. So when we turn out, Greg mentioned Texas. When Beto O'Rourke ran against Greg Abbott, 75% of young people in Texas, 30 and under, didn't vote. Texas has the largest number of eligible black voters than any state in the country. When we start talking about Mississippi, you got a brother who's running for U.S. Senate there against Cindy Hyde-Smith. Listen, when she ran and when she lost in 2018, guess what? She only won by 65,000 votes. There were at least 100,000 black people who never even voted. Sherry Beasley, when she ran for Supreme Court Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, she lost by 401 votes. And so the votes are there. Bishop Barber, we're on a text chain, he sent it to us. What happened? 600,000 black votes in North Carolina didn't vote. The numbers in Georgia exceed that. So the problem is we're sitting here complaining about power, and if I have to use a light as an example, you can't get any light if you don't plug the son of a bitch in. That's your power source. Voting is the power source.
It is. And what I want people to do, though, I do want to be in a space that I really do. I understand folks' frustration with the system. Hell, we frustrated with it. That is why if you want something changed, you got to change it, right? And it makes a difference. And so I want to make an appeal to our folks. We need you.
Yeah.
Bottom line, this is a moment right now that we actually need you. We need you to protect our children. When we need you to protect, make healthcare, to make sure we got healthcare access. We got to fight for that, y'all. We've got to fight. We need you. We need you to stand in a space. Sometimes all of us have had to do things that we're not uncomfortable or we're not totally bought in. I'm not here to try to convince you around that voting is going to change everything. What I am here is to convince you that we are in a urgent, dire position, and that we need you to stand up for your community, and we need you to use every tool available to you, and one is voting. So there are young people that are listening to this. There are young folks. Part of the reason why people are not engaged, Roland, is because there has been an effort and intention to turn people against the process, right? That ain't just come out of the sky blue. Some of those messages that your vote don't count, black folk ain't come up with that. There were some people who actually paid folks to actually say that in our community to undermine. The voter suppression that we've seen in the last 5 years accelerated because of this moment. If it didn't matter, why would they try to steal it? We got common sense. We know a game when we see it. The bottom line is games are being played because we, over the years, we have actually grown in our voting power and in our voting strength and our representation.
Just so y'all know, Neonta Williams, I know her. She was a school board member in Birmingham. She won her re-election. Y'all, this is what she sent me. Forget the 53.4 to 46.57. She won by 29 votes. This was a school board race. Look at this here. Look at the numbers. She got
the largest school district in Alabama.
I need y'all to listen. See, we keep talking about how kids matter. In this district, in the runoff, only 423 people voted. She got 226 votes. She won by 29 votes. So you can't tell me that every vote doesn't matter. We got to go back, but I got to reemphasize this because you said about the money. The work that y'all do, I need black people watching. The work that we do, I need black people watching and listening to understand.
That's right.
This ain't waiting on some white philanthropist to come write a big ass check. I just saw that Dominion Voting Systems, which sued Fox, guess what? You know why they settled their lawsuits against Sidney Powell, against Rudy Giuliani? Because a Republican firm bought them. These Republicans, they'll cut billion-dollar checks to buy stuff. Elon Musk, listen, he's on his way to be a trillionaire. They'll spend $50 billion to buy something. What we have to understand is we have to be funding our politics. And I keep saying, I'm not begging these folk to cut us a check, but we're going to demand that they actually spend money in our communities. But if we want to give money to black folks voting and who's on the ground, I say send it directly to Black Voters Matter. I said, forget these other folk who then we fund stuff, we have fundraisers, we bundle money, and then hope and pray they show up, and some white strategist is sitting there deciding who gets to spend who gets the money. So it's about funding our stuff, and the work that y'all do is right there on the ground, and we are right there with y'all. And our people got to understand those $1, $2, $5. I'm literally sitting right here, LaTosha, while you talking, I'm depositing mobile checks. Like right now, this is 20, 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 this is 17, this is 18. It funds our stuff.
It funds our stuff, and it does such for the morale. We were down in Pritchard, Alabama, a few years ago. I always tell this story. We were on the street corner campaigning, and a sister walked up to us. Out of all of the millions of dollars that we've gotten and given away, this sister walks up to us with a handful of change. It wound up being almost $10 of change that she had dug out of her car, out of the armor of her car, and she said, "Here, y'all, I want y'all to have this because I want to be a part of this movement. I want to support what y'all are doing." You do not understand. I'm still riding off that $10. I still believe that $10 has just been blessed money. It is important for us to know that we are going to have to fund our institutions. If you want Black free press, you got to fund Black free press.
Boom.
If you want Black organizations that are unapologetic, standing on the side, fighting for your children, fighting for you, you've got to fund that. It is no longer acceptable for us to make excuses about what we don't have when we literally have $1 trillion worth of resources that we give to consumers and to companies every day that say won't even stand up for diversity and inclusion and equity. So instead of us giving our money to these folks who are actually working against us, who are in fact funding the people who are working against us, it is a moment. This is get real time. This is a check-in time. We are no longer can just do business as usual. We are under attack. Our community is under attack. And we're going to have to be on the front lines of protecting us by getting involved. You can get involved with us. Come join us on Wednesday, October the 15th, in front of the steps of the Supreme Court for the Legal Defense Fund's rally at 10 a.m. to write a check, give a donation, I don't care if it's to Roland Martin so that he can do independent news and continue to lift up these stories, to Black Voters Matter so we can still have organizers that are out doing the work and making sure that we're in this fight, to groups like Transformative Justice Coalition with Barbara Arnwine that is doing amazing work, Melanie Campbell. I can go on and on. There are groups that are doing frontline work. Mm-hmm. We have to pay to make sure that we are protecting ourselves, because who else going to protect us? If we don't protect us, who else is going to protect us? So take $10, $5, $20, $500, that money that you set aside to get a new pair of shoes. Make sure that your children are able to walk a path that is free of people literally just trying to dig a hole for them, right? And you do that by protecting Black independent power. Listen, and that's just the truth.
Hey,
those are facts.
That's the truth. And it's the truth, nothing but the truth. And I'm going to tell you something right now. So my cousin, Sharonda, sent me a text. Sharonda's mom, my aunt, died in 2020. And her mom, on her deathbed, her mom looked at her and said, your job is to send my $50 to Roland every year. And her son reminded her and said, "Hey, mama, ain't it time to make that contribution?" They do it always around her birthday. So my aunt's been gone for 5 years, but she told her daughter, "You send my 50. Even though I'm gone, you send my 50. And right here, y'all, this is this week's YouTube Weekly Podcast. Go to my iPad. Listen, all these shows, y'all see all these shows, I can guarantee you, they bring in way more money than we do. They bring in, look, Pat McAfee got him a $20 million deal with ESPN. You got a Pakistani dude who gave Tucker Carlson $15 million to launch his media company after he made millions at Fox News. Theo Vaughn, right wing, they millions he gets. This Patrick Bet-David, millions of dollars. Megyn Kelly, she was a failure at NBC, and she walked away with almost $70 million off of her contract. So it's easy for us. Tim Cast, right there, he got hundreds of thousands of dollars from a Russian front company just to do 1 or 2 posts a month. And so matter of fact, he got more from Russia than we got from the Harris campaign last year, just so y'all can put that in perspective. And so you see all these folks, you see in terms of what they do, a lot of these right-wing shows, millions of dollars they're able to get, and guess what? We still are doing the work, and then right here, boom, we have 51. And y'all, I'm gonna say it again, we're the only black news show that's perennially in the top 100 every week. So we take what LaTosha's talking about. When they go out there and they hit those streets in those rural areas and they're sitting here bringing folk food and stuff, they're taking those $5 and $10 contributions. It's 4,500 people watching right now on YouTube. If y'all go, give me the website, LaTosha. Where do people get a Black Voters Matter?
Go to blackvotersmatterfund.org, blackvotersmatterfund.org, and follow our social media as well.
Yeah.
Because we're putting updates on our work.
Between all the platforms, there's more than 5,000 people. If y'all gave $10 a person, boom, they will save 50 grand.
That's right.
In the next 10 minutes, 50 grand.
Right.
Y'all, the same thing for us. And so we have to do this because, trust me, Megyn Kelly, she's sitting on millions. Sirius is paying her millions. Sirius, they're paying these folk. Ain't no corporate media cutting us checks. And all you fools like, oh, the white man, ain't nobody white hiding behind one of these doors saying, Roland, do this. Nobody. Okay? So this is, we talk about black independence. That's what this is. LaTosha, y'all keep it the good fight. Folks, get a website again for y'all to give to Black Voters Matter.
blackvotersmatterfund.org, blackvotersmatterfund.org.
All right, see you in front of the Supreme Court on Wednesday, October 15, 10 a.m.
See you there.
Thanks a lot. We'll be live streaming it there as well.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.